Hello, this is Mrs. Barker going through your non-fiction scheme of work again. Remember that there is a worksheet that you can either write on, type in, or just use for guidance. You don't need to print it out. You can absolutely just do it on a piece of paper with a pen if you like. Okay, so your starter then. Have a look back at the EBI from your previous lesson. How are you going to make sure you improve today, particularly if it was to do with terminology or presentation? And then have a look at this picture. Is the frog having a good day? Think about what he's doing, what his face looks like, and so on, and write a full sentence justifying your reasoning. So is he having a good day, bad day, somewhere in between, and how do you know? So now you've got your sentence written. Have a think about what you've just done and think about how you did it. How did you know what kind of day that frog's had? And then think about, what does it mean to infer? Okay, see if you can write a definition into your books. Think about whether we told you what his day's been like, or how you figured it out if we didn't tell you. So check your definition against the one below that's in blue and add any detail you need. So you can use your own words, you can bullet point, you can copy, you can even Google it again if you like, if you don't get this one. So when you make an inference, you use clues provided within a text or picture along with knowledge you already have to figure out information that has not been given to you. So when we look to the picture of the frog, it didn't say anywhere that the frog was grumpy, that the frog had a bad day, but the fact that the frog's arms were crossed, his facial expression, the way his eyes looked, his frown, all of those things combined with knowledge we already have, so our knowledge of body language, shows that that frog is having a bad day. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to find this hidden information and to use it to make inferences. Okay, so we're combining reading skills with pre-existing knowledge to help demonstrate clear understanding, and that's our learning objective for today. Now, today we're going to be making inferences from a biography, so it's important that we understand some key vocabulary, in particular what a biography is. So a biography is written by a person on another person that is considered well-known or famous by the world at large. So the famous person hasn't written it themselves, it's written about them. It explains the various events connected with the childhood, youth and adulthood of the person in the words of the author. The author should have studied the life of the important person, and they will give a lively account of the various events connected with their life. So they try to make it into something that's really interesting to read. But it is written by an author rather than the famous person. So you might get things in that the famous person might not want you to know, for example. Now on this slide, we've got some keywords and some definitions. And what I want you to do is to match them up. So keywords, we've got biography, inference, percussionist, classical, and outstanding. Okay, and we've got some definitions. We've got someone who plays percussion instruments, such as the drums or xylophone. The style of music composed in Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. An account of somebody's life written by another person. Excellent, beyond expectation. A conclusion made about someone or something based on evidence or reasoning. Now they're clearly in the wrong order at the moment, so can you draw lines between the two? Or if you're just doing it on paper, you could number them, and so you could do the keywords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the definitions A, B, C, D, E, and see if you can match them up so that the correct keyword is with the correct definition. Okay, how did you do? So we've got biography. It's an account of somebody's life written by another person. Inference is a conclusion made about someone or something based on evidence or reasoning. A percussionist is someone who plays percussion instruments, such as the drums or xylophone. Classical is a style of music composed in Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. And outstanding is excellent, beyond expectation. Now you're going to need those keywords and those definitions for when we read our piece of writing, our biography. Now I'd like you to open the Word document, Evelyn Glennie, A Short Biography. Read it through and then answer the following questions in full sentences. I recommend that you read the questions before you read so that you know what you're looking for as you're going through it. I'd like you to try and read the extract on your own, but if you need some help, listen to me reading it on the next two slides. What you could do is try and get the answers without hearing me read it and then come back and listen to those slides again if you need to, okay? So your questions are, number 1, how did Evelyn's family first know that she had potential as a musician? Number 2, what major problem did Evelyn encounter when she was at primary school? Number 3, in which family of musical instruments did Evelyn excel? And excel means to do exceptionally well in. Why was Evelyn's progress at the Royal Academy of Music remarkable? And number 5, after which major achievement did Evelyn's musical career really take off? Evelyn Glennie, a short biography. Evelyn Glennie is a well-known musician who plays many different percussion instruments. She's the first ever solo full-time percussionist. She has played all around the world with famous orchestras and musicians. Evelyn was born in 1965 and grew up with her 2 brothers on a farm in northeast Scotland. From an early age, when she started to learn the piano, recorder and clarinet, it was clear that Evelyn was unusually gifted in music. While still at primary school, Evelyn started to lose her hearing. By the age of 12, she was almost completely deaf. At secondary school, she stopped playing most other instruments in order to put her effort into percussion. Here she began to excel as a talented musician, with support from family and teachers, especially Mr. Forbes, her percussion teacher. In those days, because of her deafness, it was difficult for Evelyn to be allowed to attend the local secondary school. Later on in 1981, she had an even bigger struggle to get into the Royal Academy of Music in London, where she wanted to continue her studies in music. At first, the Royal Academy was unwilling even to interview her, but she was finally accepted. She did better than anyone expected and completed her studies while still exceptionally young, before her 20th birthday. In 1988, Evelyn won the Young Musician of the Year competition, and since then her career has taken off. She's become an outstanding professional musician, winning countless prizes and awards, and has performed with many world-class musicians all over the globe. Evelyn appears on television frequently, presenting music programs such as Soundbites. She has also written and performed music, not only for television but for film. She has even developed her own musical instrument, a range of cymbals. Some of Evelyn's major achievements include: gives around 110 concerts a year, has recorded 18 albums, has performed in over 40 countries, has collected over 1,800 instruments, uses up to 60 instruments in a live performance. Now go back then and have a look at the questions and answer them. So hopefully you've gone through and you've used inference to help you answer these questions. So we're going to go through and find the parts of the text that show the answers to these questions, okay? And after that, we're going to look at using inference to write about Evelyn Glennie. So, how did Evelyn's family first know she had potential as a musician? Well, it's just from an early age when she started to learn the piano, recorder and clarinet. So, we know that A, she was quite young, and B, she was playing several instruments. What major problem did Evelyn encounter when she was at primary school? At primary school, Evelyn started to lose her hearing. By the age of 12, she was almost completely deaf. Number 3, in which family of musical instruments did Evelyn excel? She put her effort into percussion. Here she began to excel as a talented musician. Why was Evelyn's progress at the Royal Academy of Music remarkable? So the Royal Academy was unwilling even to interview her. And you could also put in about her deafness there, because quite clearly that would have been one of the major issues with her. And you could also write about how she was still exceptionally young. She completed her studies before her 20th birthday. And number 5, after which major achievement did Evelyn's musical career really take off? And we've got in 1988, Evelyn won the Young Musician of the Year competition. So those are the answers. And then we're going to talk on the next couple of slides about using inference. Here we have 2 paragraphs written by students. I want you to look at which student has made inferences. So student A has written, Evelyn Glennie plays a lot of percussion instruments on her own, and she's the first musician ever to do this full time. And then student B says, from the first paragraph, we can tell that Evelyn Glennie is a determined and talented person. The fact that she's the first ever full-time solo percussionist suggests that she is both very talented as a musician and has had the determination to push herself as far as she can go. Now, the first paragraph there, student A, it's correct. Everything in there is factually correct. but the inference isn't there. So student A has not read between the lines and figured out what Evelyn Glennie must be like. Student B has said she's determined and talented. That's not necessarily in the extract. Same as she's both very talented as a musician and has had the determination to push herself as far as she can go. That's not something that's in the text, but it's clear. In order for her to achieve everything she's achieved, whilst being deaf, whilst having to struggle to get into secondary school and the Royal Academy of Music, it's quite clear she must be determined. She must have drive. She must be convinced of her own talent and determined to get what she wants in order to play the thing she loves. That's not written in the biography, but we can see it must be true. Have another read of these two paragraphs and look at where you can see the inference. So read back through your answers to the questions earlier. Did you use inference? I suspect you probably didn't, because even when we went through and I went through the answers with you, I just selected the information that the question directly asked. I selected the quotes that showed that she was young and so on. There wasn't a lot of inference. There's a little bit, but not much. So now I want you to go back. I want you to think about the answers you found earlier on about Evelyn Glennie. And I want you to write me 1 to 2 good quality paragraphs where you include the inference. What can you tell about Evelyn Glennie? What must she be like as a person to achieve the things that she's achieved? Think about it really carefully. She's deaf and she plays music for a living. That's pretty phenomenal. So what can we figure out about Evelyn Glennie? What can we infer from this biography about her? And write me a paragraph about Evelyn Glennie. So now hopefully you have written your paragraph, and I hope you've also highlighted any inference that you've got in there. So anything that wasn't directly in the biography but that you know must be true, you can use that with your prior knowledge, that must be true, so that it is inference. Highlight that for me and then upload your answers to your teacher on Google Classrooms, please. So finally, let's do a little bit of self-assessment. So complete the task below. So first of all, what went well? Give me one what went well. One thing that you have learned or done today. And then secondly, one EBI, one even better if. One thing that you could have done better. And then finally, just think again, without going back to the beginning of this PowerPoint, the beginning of this video. What does it mean to infer? Can you remember your definition? Don't look at your notes. Think about what it means to infer. When you come up with that, check it against your notes and see if you're correct. And I will see you next lesson. Thank you very much.